Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We're looking at a small 4-game slate here tonight, Nate. This one, we're going to be taking a look at the Brooklyn Nets playing host to the Philadelphia 76ers. KD is back, which brings me to my next point. Make sure you are staying on thelines.com, playpicks.com, as there are continue to be a number of players moving in and out of health and safety protocols. Some guys with just some NBA injuries coming out. So you want to make sure you're checking out those lines up until about game time. Make sure you're getting those best bets in correctly. Do check out Nate's article on playpicks.com as well tonight with those best bets and player props for you. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, we've got the Nets minus 4.5 at home with Kevin Durant expected to return along with a couple other guys, LaMarcus Aldridge, most importantly there. The total is opened around 218, but it's creeping up to 221.5 at the moment. And 3 other games here on December 30th. We got Cavs plus 3.5 at the Wiz. Not sure about Bradley Beal there. The Cavs just lost Darius Garland and then lost at a shorthanded Pelicans team. The Bucks are minus 14 at Orlando. They just pasted the Magic 2 nights ago and are expected to do so again. And then the Warriors, after losing at home to Denver, are minus 4 in Denver. Total of 214.5 there. It's creeping up still a little bit, Josh, and we talk about it in that video, how we would probably still take the under if it's going to rise like that after those teams combined for 175 points in the last meeting. But we do like Steph Curry props, and you got to come back for our player prop video there to see why we think that so much. Sticking with this Philly game, though, the Sixers playing much better of late. Still playing at a very slow pace, though, of course, and they play very slow on the road, where they've been winning with defense, allowing the second fewest assists per game, allowing the third fewest paint points in their last 3, regardless of venue. And when they're underdogs, they play even harder defense, 13-4 to the under this season. When listed as dogs, bless their heart, they have not gotten many wins though in the situations, and they're 0-6 straight up against the Atlantic Division. If you exclude the head case Celtics, shout out 4 for 42 last night. Embarrassing shooting from our team here in Boston, but I digress. We're looking at Brooklyn here, which is the championship favorite, which is a win machine right now, and is 6-0 against that division. Is 5-0 in their last 5 games against teams that made the playoffs in the East last year, and is coming off 2 wins in LA where James Harden just carried them. And yes, to answer your question here in the notes, Josh, James Harden is back. We will talk about him in the player props video as well. Patty Mills is lighting it up. And now they get Kevin Durant back, the best basketball player in the world, who is basically averaging over a triple-double in 2 meetings with the Sixers this year. Relatively close wins there, though, 9 and 5 points. And the trend with the Nets is very consistent this season, 9-6 as home favorites, but 3-11 against the spread in those situations. We once again expect a close win here with Embiid keeping the Sixers close. So I would look at ways to get a little extra juice here. And I think the under, I love that it's rising because the under is the way to do that. I think a lot of people assume, KD's back, we can just add his points to what the Nets have been scoring in LA. Well, it's going to take maybe a game or 2 for those superstars to figure out their shift again. And one of those games against the Lakers, first of all, who were just giving up like 130 points every time out. And then second of all, you look at what the Nets do at home, their offensive rating drops by about 6 points per 100 possessions. They're the number 1 3-point defense, so that's why they've been going under so often. And they're 6-10 to the over at home. They have the 6th best defensive rating there, and actually the 5th worst offensive rating when it drops to that point. So, that's when you combine that with a Philly team that knows they slow it down, pretty much like Jokic when you talk about in that Nuggets video. When your big man is your offense, you have to play slow. They depend on free throws. If those are not falling, then we're talking about a brick-heavy game that is very slow-paced, involves a lot of missed jump shots, and definitely going to probably go under here at 221 and rising.
Yeah, I love that it's rising like that. Like you said, I think this is under as well. I mean, the numbers all indicate under for both of these teams where we're playing tonight. You talk about the Nets. It's wild to me. They have the 5th worst home offensive rating in the league right now. I mean, that's wild. And then they have maybe just as wild, the 6th best offense or defensive rating at home this season, completely reversed from last season. But I mean, kudos to Steve Nash, who clearly like put some emphasis on that. He knows from his days of being a part of the Golden State Warriors staff that when the Dubs won their championships in those 2 seasons or 3 seasons, they were in the top 10 in defense all 3 of those years. So, I mean, it's clear there's a clear correlation there between winning a chip and at least being, if not very good, formidable on defense. And that's what the Nets are. That's why they've gone 6-10 versus the over at home. And then adding to that, like you were talking about with the 76ers. Them as when they're road dogs this year, 3-8 to the under. Just to add to that, 13-4 to the under when listed as dogs in general, 3-8. 13-4 to the under, 3-8 to the over rather as road dogs. So that under is hitting a ton when they're on the road, especially as dogs as well. I think you look at why, like you said, Joel Embiid is the focal point of this offense, and what he's doing not only to get his points, he's getting back to the line, which is huge for him and something that's going to continue to help him. You look at what he's done in his last 5, and I'll probably bring this up in the player props video as well, just as a little foreshadowing there. But in his last 5 games where he's really stepped up and come back from being injured and being out here and there, 33 points and 10.5 boards. But what I'm looking at is that 10 for 12 from the free throw line as well. So getting 10 points from the free throw line every game means you're like, especially as Embiid, who's going to get that usage rate up to above 30% as it is for most games this season. I think you got to like his points there as well, and the fact that he'll be able to keep this game close. So the under is where I'm looking for sure, but I also would love to parlay that money line for the Nets, because the money line for the Nets is the play, especially at home, right? They're 10-6 overall, straight up at home. But you look at what they are against the spread. And and they're not. What are they? 4-11 and 1, I believe, or something crazy to against the spread there at home. So they're not winning those games by a lot, but they're winning them, and that's why they're still top. Every time you come back and look at the Nets and think they're underachieving, they're the top seed in the East, and they are still the favorites to win the championship, because when they're all together and all right, even if they don't have Kyrie, they might still be the favorite. If they do have Kyrie, they definitely are. So for this one, I love the fact that the Nets play well against their division. The 76ers do not. I love that the Nets play really great defense at home and get those unders on the at home. I love that Philly gets those unders on the road, especially as dogs. So I would take that parlay money line, the Nets with that under at 221.5, and feel really good about being able to get about plus 242 back on your money there.
Yeah, and it's interesting when Embiid has a higher usage rate, it seems like Philly actually scores fewer points because of that pace that they play at when the big man is the focal point. And he has some pretty good numbers against Brooklyn. He certainly tries to carry them in these high-profile matchups. But if the Nets do a decent job limiting him, tonight, then the Sixers could be in trouble. The straight up money line versus the teaser is the question for me here, because you can get the Nets with a 4-point spread on the money line, and then you can tease up that total to whatever it closes at. Maybe you're getting at 226 now for the under, which would make you feel a lot safer, considering the 2 meetings this season, they have closed at 219 and 223 between these teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is some concern there that, if Harden's cooking in terms of getting to the free throw line, that's really better news for the over. And if Embiid's able to get to the free throw line, same thing on the other side there. So it is a competitive total, I think. It's not like we're saying this is going to smash the under, but we do think it will still go under. Durant helps their defense a lot, right? I don't think people realize that as much as that is. Why are the Nets the 6th best defense in the league? It's because Kevin Durant is the best player in the world, and that goes both ways. And he's going to be trouble for a Sixers team, not necessarily for Embiid, but for guys like Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey, who are trying to get theirs going to the basket. The Sixers have not been very productive beyond the arc this season. And again, Brooklyn is the number one 3-point defense. So it's a question of where else are they going to get points besides throwing it into the post for Embiid. And I don't know where they're going to find it if with guys like Durant, and they got Cam Thomas and Kessler Edwards back in there, very athletic wings who can contain them. DeAndre Bembry and James Johnson as well. There's a lot of bulk there on the wing for the Nets, and that's why they're able to handle a team like the Sixers. And I think that will be the key for the win here.
Yeah, the win and the total to me too, and it's Philly going under once again. I mean, in their last 10 games, they've reached this total of 221 twice. Everything else has gone pretty far under that, and that 219 total against Brooklyn last time included. So I do still feel pretty good about the under, but like you said, Brooklyn to win a close game against a division foe and another good team. That's pretty much death taxes, and that's what's been happening this year. So I feel like we're onto something with this one. Feeling pretty good about all those bets. But that is all the time we have for this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. It's got those other couple videos up for you today on this small slate, including that player props video. Until we see you next, happy betting.